Lagrange Legacy Archives number 110, a study on the origin of the Twin Festival. Towards the end of the Great Navigation era, the Earth community was ridden in skepticism and conspiracy theories about the Proxima Centauri development plan. They asserted that the plan was nothing but futile fraud and insisted that the humankind should live comfortably in the solar system. It was not until the return of Fidipede's fleet to Earth that the questioning stopped. When Gemar and her crew presented to the Earth community the interim result of the Proxima Centauri development plan, a significant milestone in the human spaceflight history, the 4-light-year return Voyage substantially changed the Earth community's attitude towards space development outside the solar system and greatly facilitated the sentiments of outward development. The concept of the Earth-Centauri twinning was then brought forward for the first time. Jamara K. Cooper, who led this return voyage from Proxima Centauri space station, kept a journal for 48 years, recording the travel from Proxima Centauri to Earth in full. It is first-hand literature on the cultural history of the Twin Festival, the expedition's sentiments, the ancient interstellar flight technologies, and the everyday life in space. The original journal was in the form of audios and kept by the Institute of History and Culture of the City of Endless Dawn. It once circulated in the form of electronic publication and was later systematically destroyed during wartime. Only a couple of excerpts cited by other literature survive, and 7 of them were compiled into an essay entitled "The Call from 4 Light-Years Away." A historical and cultural study on space festivals by the Department of History, Herman University, P23. The Call from 4 Light-Years Away, Chapter 1, Off We Went. At 10 o'clock sharp in the morning, the fleet set off the Star River port of the Proxima Centauri space station. As a pilot, I have set off from here countless times to build new factories and small settlements with the engineering fleet. I have been to Proxima Centauri B and the asteroid belt on the research ship to explore the space environment or rescue survivors from construction accidents as a part of the rescue team. Every time I set off from here, I would say goodbye to this familiar port. This time, however, I know we will never ever be back. To our generation who was born in the Proxima Centauri space station, Earth sounds in no way familiar. Earth is home to humankind, but not to me. This voyage is a return home for the entire humankind, but a farewell for us. We're leaving the Proxima Centauri space station and our friends and relatives, never to return. We will take the shortest road to Earth, starting from the Proxima Centauri space station, traveling directly through the asteroid belt of Centaurus and slowing down to dock with the supply ship of the nearly dawn space station on the edge of Oort Cloud. After the replenishment is complete, we'll restart the warp drive and speed up for 20 years through the vast darkness between the solar system and Centaurus. We will then stop by Bonfire Comprehensive Port on the edge of a solar system for brief rest before heading to Earth at full tilt. If everything goes smoothly, we will reach the Earth in 45 years. In addition to verifying the best road between Proxima Centauri and Earth, we will also show Earth the evidence of several generations living and toiling on the star. We will let our fellow Earth dwellers know that Proxima Centauri is not beyond their reach. Chapter 2. through the asteroid belt. Glimmering stars slide past the portholes in the dark. We have been traveling in the midst of a dense asteroid belt for 2 years. This is an unnamed industrial district under development, a suburb of the Proxima Centauri space station. Asteroids of disparate sizes are covered with veins with different colors and shapes. Tremendous mining and smelting facilities pop through the asteroids, manifesting humankind's industrial strength. Fully loaded utility ships are hustling and bustling between major industrial districts, forming giant industrial production lines in space. This is how the Proxima Centauri space station flourished. Lately, everyone seems to have grown fond of idling about the microgravity cabin on the top of the spacecraft. The microgravity cabin has a transparent hemispherical dome, through which one can see the outside of the spacecraft. It is a working cabin designed for observations. However, it has become a public leisure area for everyone since Dr. Ray Duff, our psychiatrist, moved his studio further up. And it has been quite a while since Dr. Ray Duff's last counseling session, because it's hard to feel any pain in front of the liveliness and vibrancy of space. If you jump up gently and spread your body and limbs out slowly, you will be able to float in a microgravity cabin. You can even lie flat in the mid-air if you can master the skills. Whenever I lie floating under the transparent dome and watch the stars and space dust passing by, I can tangibly feel that I'm a child of the universe, just like the stars and space dust. Chapter 3: The Centennial. Today is the centennial of the completion of the Proxima Centauri space station. Taking into account the time lag, we delivered a message of congratulations to the space station more than a half year ago. We also received the congratulations from our friends and relatives in the space station. All good news. My father wrote that he and our relatives were all good. Don't be homesick, Jamar. You're heading to a greater home. Do you still remember the story I used to tell you when you were little? Our ancestors owned a stretch of land on Earth, covered with green plants. There was an apple tree in the garden, and the fruits growing on it could be eaten without being processed. It seems human to develop a sense of security and fixation on a familiar place. But our ancestors did not struggle with their way to Proxima Centauri because they were homesick. We would rather push back the boundaries of humankind than rest on that sweet, tender land. The edge of the solar system was perceived as such a boundary before the Proxima Centauri space station was established. We need no tender land. We just want to move forward. We will go for whatever lies ahead, to be it Proxima Centauri or Earth. If the unknown deep space in the distance is awaiting us, we will go for deep space too, relentlessly. Chapter 4: Boundaries of Darkness. It is the 8th year after we drove off the edge of Centaurus and into vastness of the universe. But first, we were able to spot 1 or 2 distant stars shimmering occasionally. But now, all that meets our gaze is boundless darkness. This is an expanse of the wildness in the universe, far away from gravitational field of stars. There are hardly any celestial bodies or light, let alone traces of humankind. No one uses the microgravity cabin for rest anymore, since no one is willing to face the boundless darkness, empty, bleak, and void. The past prosperity and happiness have left us behind. And any hope for the future is beyond our reach. Even the meaning of existence at the moment seems to be falling apart. Without the tiny digits on the dashboard that are still changing slowly, we would feel as if life has stopped and everything is being wasted meaninglessly in an open stretch of dead water. Some of us are even beginning to doubt whether our fleet is actually going forward, fearing that we will be left afloat in the wildness of the universe forever. Dr. Ray Dev tries his best to comfort us and suggests that those suffering the most go into hibernation. He also advises us to work in shifts if possible so that we can go into hibernation in turns to avoid immersing ourselves into deep space environment for too long. Rupert is one of the few crew members aboard who do not suffer from abnormal mood swings. In his late 50s, he is the oldest of the crew and also the chief of logistics and supplies. Rupert is a source of useless fun facts, and he goes out of his way to tell us jokes every day. Dr. Ray Dev is working on a study of a deep space depression. Thousands of years ago, humankind had tackled depression and formulated a set of complicated yet effective treatment protocols. However, depression induced by the space environment has more complicated pathological causes and symptoms, and we have not been able to discover its secrets. Perhaps it is a new disease, which could be named deep space depression. At present, we can only approach it with the existing depression treatment. Even the wildness in the dark has boundaries. Chapter 5. A small accident. We had a small accident today. A meteor show deviated from its estimated course and almost hit our fleet. The detection system warned us ahead of time, and we managed to urgently adjust our route and avoid this unexpected crash. However, we were off our original route. We had to shut down the warp drive and travel at a low speed before finding a new, safe route. We woke up all the hibernating crew members in the commanding team, engineering team, and environment research team to calculate a new route. With our resources running out, we have to reach the bonfire port as soon as possible. Otherwise, we will be left afloat in the space forever. Not long ago, we had just finished our 20-year voyage in the darkness and entered the Oort cloud of the solar system, where active meteors abound. A still universe is just as dangerous as a dynamic one. Now I understand the simple sentence spoken by a predecessor. I was only 35 when I became the fleet commander, and now I'm in my 60s. Am I too old to lead a fleet? Looking back on my ambitions when we set off, I know that I underestimated the efforts required for long-distance space travel. But to think that the humankind couldn't even get out of the continent in a lifetime, and now they can go to another star system in a couple of decades. I cannot help but imagine that the entire Milky Way could be our homeland if the other means of transport more convenient than the warp drive are made available in the future, and we would have the capability to reach every corner of the universe.
Initiating warp drive module.
Chapter 6. Alien Fellows. We have finally arrived at the bonfire port. This is our first contact with the Earth community. Sitting on the edge of the solar system, Bonfire is a large space station nearest to the Proxima Centauri. It was originally established as a sentry post to look for alien civilizations, and gradually developed into a large transport hub after the completion of the Proxima Centauri space station, when more and more people began traveling to Proxima Centauri. Nevertheless, it's still on the outskirts of the Earth community. It would take at least several years to get here from Earth. Very few people will ever set foot here unless they are determined to get out of the solar system. But this time, the Earth community dispatched a magnificent reception convoy several years in advance to welcome us. We were received with much ceremony. Although we had sent a message to the port in advance, the port staff still looked at us in amazement when we met. They must be surprised to see us, Earthlings born outside the solar system for the first time. In fact, we find it equally unbelievable to think that they have grown up on the planet. Following my detailed introduction to the Proxima Centauri space station to the diplomat who welcomed us, they expressed their curiosity about the environment where I live and grew up. They addressed me with the word fellow. Despite the regular communications between the Proxima Centauri space station and Earth, it's still very difficult for us to get to know each other well. Because it takes nearly 9 years for us to send a message and hear back from the other end over a distance of 4.22 light years. And now we're able to talk heartily together till late night. A tea table is as good as 4 light years. I never knew that Proxima Centauri could be so close to Earth. Chapter 7. Earth. Earth. This is my last voyage entry. We're fully prepared for the landing. Shut down warp drive. Start semi-autonomous driving. Enter off-ramp orbit. Prepare to land. All items are secured and the crew return to their position in the landing cabin. Along with us are the bodies of Rupert and 23 other crew members in the small freezing cabin. We can already see that large blue planet, even some of the undulating fields. I don't know what's awaiting us. I feel nervous, but I'm looking forward to it. We're back, Earth.